должны уже успеть к нам. В любом случае, наше мероприятие сегодняшнее записывается на видео, поэтому такой артефакт у нас у всех останется. Я рада приветствовать вас всех во ФРИ, Фонде развития интернет-инициатив, на встрече с Биллом Болдингом. Это декан Fuqua School of Business, Duke University. Сегодня мы поговорим об инновациях в образовании, о том, каких лидеров готовим сейчас в новую диджитал-эпоху. Я немного расскажу о себе, представлюсь. Меня зовут Лиза. Я руковожу образовательным направлением акселератора ФРИ. У меня чуть более 7 лет в области образования. Я участвовала в программе планирования карьеры сотрудников оргкомитета Олимпийских игр и также большого количества спортивных ивентов. Также я после этого присоединилась к команде развития талантов Сбербанк CIB, это корпоративный инвестиционный бизнес Сбербанка. Курировала образовательные программы в образовательном таком стартапе «Цех», и с 2018 года я руковожу образовательным направлением акселератора ФРИ. Здесь есть мои контакты, я буду рада, если вы постучитесь мне в друзья на Фейсбуке, а также можете писать мне в любой момент. Собственно, хочу рассказать немного про наш фонд, где мы здесь с вами находимся. Фонд развития интернет-инициатив — это венчурный инвестиционный фонд, фонд ранних стадий. Здесь, в общем-то, видно, какое количество регалий есть у нашего фонда. Самое крупное — это то, что мы входим в топ-5 мировых фондов по количеству сделок ранних стадий, и мы были признаны Dow Jones самым активным пассивным фондом в Европе. Секунду. Я очень волнуюсь, не очень привыкла выступать со сцены, обычно нахожусь с другой стороны экрана. Собственно, про ФРИ в цифрах. У ФРИ в управлении находится порядка 6 миллиардов рублей. Это деньги частные, владельцев заводов, пароходов, которые, в общем-то, были выделены на, скажем так, инвестирование в технологические стартапы. За время существования нашего фонда с 2013 года по нашей воронке прошло более 9 тысяч стартапов, которые приходили к нам за инвестициями. Можно смело сказать, что наша насмотренность рынка и срез по командам, технологиям и трендам, наверное, самый широкий из тех, что есть на венчурном рынке сейчас. Собственно говоря, мы имеем сейчас более 470 сделок ранних стадий. Это огромное количество, чтобы вы понимали, в нашей части света даже похожих цифр по количеству сделок нет больше ни у кого. И, собственно говоря, больше 500 проектов прошли наши акселерационные программы. Часть из них приходили за инвестициями, часть приходили просто качать себя и свой продукт, условно говоря, в платном формате. И ФРИ также известен своим огромным количеством образовательных инициатив. Более 40 тысяч человек прошли наши предпринимательские образовательные программы. Достаточно большие цифры. Что же такое акселератор и почему эти цифры можно назвать серьезными и значимыми? Собственно говоря, в 2018 году Forbes поставил наш акселератор на 8-е место в топ-10 акселераторов в мире по количеству экзитов. Можно увидеть, что первые 7 фондов — это, в общем-то, первые 6 фондов — это американские крупные ребята, а 7-й и 9-й — это UK, и 10-й — это Латинская Америка. Это такой достаточно для нас важный значок быть признанными вот так вот мировым сообществом. Собственно, здесь вы можете увидеть часть логотипов наших портфельных компаний, которые проходили акселерационные программы Фонда развития интернет-инициатив. Они разделены по капитализации до 50 миллионов рублей, от 50 до 100, свыше 100 и, собственно говоря, больше миллиарда. Это те команды, которые приходили к нам за получением инвестиций, которые растут вместе с нами. У нас есть несколько экзитов, вот, например, отмечены они здесь, но их на самом деле очень немного, потому что период возврата инвестиций в рамках российских реалий составляет чуть более 7 лет. Нашему фонду пока чуть более 6. Поэтому мы увидим первые серьезные экзиты и результаты уже, наверное, в ближайшее время. Собственно, за 6 лет работы у нас, как у фонда и акселератора, накопилась огромная экспертиза по запуску продуктов и выводу новых продуктов. Собственно говоря, это 3 наши основные программы для предпринимателей и бизнеса. Это акселерационная программа, мастерская старта продаж и Go Global. Это программы, которые помогают предпринимателям выходить на новые для себя рынки и цифры. Собственно говоря, мастерская старта продаж — это такой курс молодого бойца, через который уже прошло более 1300 компаний. Мы берем сюда команды, у которых есть продукт, есть команда, есть повторяемый процесс. И здесь нужно запустить продажи, либо изменить бизнес-модель для того, чтобы команда начинала бежать и приносить результат. Есть акселератор. Это программа, которая подходит компаниям, у которых уже есть выручка, ну хотя бы от нескольких миллионов в месяц. И здесь нужно сделать кратный рост, нужно сделать следующий большой шаг. Через эту команду у нас прошло больше 500, через эту программу прошло больше 500 команд. И буквально в этом году мы запустили программу Go Global, накопив всю свою экспертизу. Это запуск продаж продукта за рубежом всего за 24 недели. Собственно, это вот те направления экспертизы и те направления знаний, которые есть внутри нашего фонда и акселератора. А что такое акселератор? Это совсем просто. Это такой курс молодого бойца, когда мы высаживаем на 3 месяца к себе сюда, на площадку стартапа, и на протяжении 3 месяцев качаем команду, процессы, основателей, помогаем со всей инфраструктурой, нетворком, учим делать все целиком. В акселерацию входит образовательная часть, за которую отвечаю я, входит сопровождение трекером, это такой наставник, который помогает с целеполаганием, с добеганием до результата, в нужный момент похвалит команду, но в большинстве случаев достаточно больно тыкает ее для того, чтобы ребята бежали быстрее. В программу акселерации также входит и вот этих вот 3 программ, и это то, что мы делаем успешно с 2013 года. Вот через эту вот воронку у нас прошло более 10 тысяч команд. Собственно говоря, на чем строится образовательный процесс в акселераторе, тут все на самом деле очень просто и очень сильно приземляется на действие. Это экспертиза, практика и кейсы. Когда я говорю экспертиза, мы верим в то, что фундаментальное университетское образование очень важно. Без этого никуда. Но на самом деле мир меняется так быстро, что, мне кажется, уже выходя из университета, мы несколько отстаем от того, что происходит в бизнесе. Поэтому наши преподаватели, наши эксперты — это те ребята, которые днем пилят свой настоящий продукт. Либо стартап, либо работают в корпорации, либо делают и то, и другое. А дальше в рамках акселератора делятся своими прикладными знаниями с командами. Когда они приходят и знают не один единственный работающий способ, как надо, а знают еще 30, как не надо, а еще 20, как сработает, но, скорее всего, нет. А еще точно знают, как это будет работать в той или иной конкретной отрасли. Это всегда практикующие эксперты, это всегда те люди, которые, как никто, знают, как бизнес работает. И мы не верим в то, что можно чему-то научиться в теории, что можно построить бизнес на бумаге, что можно запустить продажи, просто нарисовав красивый бизнес-план и потом по нему пойти, бежать и делать. Это всегда пробы и ошибки, это всегда процесс, такой непрерывный процесс улучшений, изменений, и это всегда работа с гипотезами и с приземлением на практику. У нас в акселераторе есть такое понимание разницы между гипотезой и галлюцинацией. Вот когда вот фаундер бизнеса считает, что вот я считаю, что если мы сейчас трафика нальем сюда на 200 тысяч, мы сейчас заработаем на 400. Вот это вот галлюцинация чистой воды. А если мы ставим, оформляем все в гипотезу, что если мы в этот канал зальем столько денег, то мы подразумеваем, что получим вот столько-то лидов с такой-то конверсией, закроем в продажу, вот это уже гипотеза, вот это уже бизнес-практика, с которой можно работать. Исключительно в таком формате мы работаем с командами в рамках всех всех программ. И именно таким образом идем к получению знаний. Если же к нам приходит команда с каким-то продуктом, с которым раньше наши эксперты не сталкивались, мы всегда приходим к кейсам, мы всегда копаем внутри отрасли. А как у коллег, а как у конкурентов. Так как наши преподаватели — это всегда эксперты, и это всегда очень крутые ребята, они чаще всего имеют доступ и имеют огромную насмотренность рынка. И всегда могут подсказать, если не живые цифры, если они связаны идеей, то, по крайней мере, сработает это или нет. И если нам нужно приземлить на действие кого-то, не знаю, научить строить бизнес-модель юнит-экономики, или запустить новый бизнес, или новый спин-офф, мы всегда идем и учимся с экспертами на практике, разбирая реальные бизнес-кейсы. Кажется, что это работает только так. Ну, по крайней мере, у нас работает только таким образом. Собственно, когда мы говорим про работу со стартапами, кажется, что кто такие стартапы? Это маленькие компании, которые что-то там маленькое собирают, какие-то продукты, какие-то кусочки рынка на самом деле пытаются отвоевать. Весь этот опыт, все эти знания работы с стартапами прекрасно приземляются на работу с корпорациями. Запуск нового продукта внутри корпорации или запуск нового спин-оффа, или выход на новый рынок, либо новая стратегия — на самом деле все то же самое. Все те же самые стартапы. Короткими итерациями, проверка гипотез и непрерывный цикл улучшений. За время работы нашего фонда мы поработали больше, чем с 250 корпорациями, и 500 человек из крупнейших телеком и IT-компаний прошли наши образовательные программы. Мы запустили с корпорациями более 100 совместных пилотов. То есть наши стартапы из наших воронок с корпорациями запустили более сотни бизнесов. Мы провели 17 инновационных сессий для крупных компаний. Мы изменили майндсет как минимум 17 крупных ребят, которые теперь готовы мыслить инновационно. Мы организовали 15 акселераторов с крупными компаниями. Собственно, помимо всего прочего, мы также развиваем предпринимательский потенциал сотрудников. Для того, чтобы компании изменились на рынке, им нужно меняться внутри, поэтому мы всегда работаем с коллегами и качаем внутренних предпринимателей. Мы делали это с Леруа Мерлен, мы делали это со Сбербанком, сейчас с Ростелекомом и Кока-Колой, и буквально недавно закончили проект London Business School. Это такой для нас интересный и сложный опыт, но действительно образование такое заточенное на практику, которое ты делаешь руками и каждый раз прорабатываешь каждый из новых осваиваемых инструментов, приземляется даже вот в такие крупные компании, даже методология работы с стартапами. Ну и, собственно говоря, также мы запустили 3 акселератора для идей проектов сотрудников. Для КАМАЗа буквально недавно закончился Билайн и Донстрой. Ну, то есть даже несмотря на то, что мы привыкли работать с IT-стартапами, и, казалось бы, это такой узкий, очень сегментированный рынок, образование через практику и через каждодневное улучшение себя приземляется, в общем-то, даже на большой крупный бизнес. Собственно, помимо того, чтобы качать команды и корпорации целиком, мы также имеем большой опыт работы непосредственно со специалистами компаний. У нас есть несколько ключевых наших направлений обучения. Это программы для специалистов и руководителей. По сути, это такой B2C-сегмент, открытые регулярные курсы, на которые можно прийти. Собственно, мы качаем директоров по продукту, мы качаем инвесторов, мы качаем тех трекеров-наставников, которые работают со стартапами. И мы умеем из руководителя, например, операционного бизнеса растить SEO. Мы учим только тому, что прожили сами. И это очень маленькая линейка, но 2000 человек прошли через наши программы, 250 крупных компаний учатся с нами, и каждый год мы становимся все больше. Мы провели там почти 70 курсов, и это все про то, что мы учим тому, что умеем, и верим в то, что просто лекции не работают. Невозможно просто научиться чему-то один раз и стать классными. Это такой lifelong learning. Ты постоянно чему-то учишься. Мир меняется невероятно быстро, и нужно просто бежать вперед и никогда не останавливаться. Все наше обучение ориентировано на практику. И, к сожалению, по-другому не работает, а может быть и к счастью. Ты всегда приходишь со своим проектом и всегда его выворачиваешь наизнанку, достаешь оттуда цифры, и это будет больно. И, скорее всего, придется перевернуть его наизнанку несколько раз. И каждый раз, когда проект приходит в наши акселерационные программы, будь то МСП или классический акселератор или Go Global, где-нибудь через 2-3 недели фаундеру хочется просто убежать, выйти в окно и сказать, что я больше так не могу и не буду, просто потому что мне очень больно, мой бизнес прям вот плохой, и меня заставляют посмотреть в глаза тому, что я делаю что-то не так. Потому что я делал продукт для себя, а надо для рынка, а я не знал. А я всегда считал, что залить денег побольше, получить на выходе побольше. Это не так работает. И считать бюджет и экономику на самом деле обязательно и не через призму розовых очков. И когда мы приходим в корпорации и проводим первые инновационные стратегические сессии, не все компании рады тому, что мы достаем изнутри то, что сотрудники не очень хотят что-то делать. Чаще всего это такая достаточно сложная, реактивная структура, которую нужно расшевелить. Но когда ты приносишь туда внутрь вот эти вот работу как стартап, когда ты бежишь до цели, когда ты каждый раз ставишь себе маленькую цель и бежишь к ней, не останавливаясь, и потом, пробежав 2-3 месяца, оборачиваешься назад и думаешь: ого, вот это да, и это все сделал. И когда ты учишь специалистов, которые приходят к нам, например, на продуктовые курсы, классные ребята, например, из Сбербанка или из X5 или из какой-нибудь тройки операторов, которые прям крутые продакт-менеджеры, говорят: слушайте, ну у нас же вот, ну всю жизнь же так работало, ну мы же большие и вообще молодцы. А потом садишься и раскладываешь прям по полочкам сегментацию клиентов, юнит-экономику, когда вместе на практике сели и разложили, увидели ошибки. И так нужно делать каждый раз. Построил гипотезу, проверил, сделал выводы, вернулся назад, построил новую, проверил, сделал выводы, вернулся назад. И только так это работает, и только так можно растить специалистов будущего. Мы в это верим. Через нас прошли прям тысячи человек, и кажется, это то, к чему хочется идти дальше, через практику, через любовь к своему делу и через специализацию, через работу с экспертами, через сообщество. Что еще очень важно, невозможно без нетворка и без такого прям комьюнити классных экспертов расти и что-то делать большое. Мы всегда работаем с крутыми преподавателями и экспертами, и чаще всего это люди, которые говорят одну вещь, что мое время очень дорого стоит, его практически невозможно купить. То, что вы можете мне заплатить, мне не очень интересно. И внутри акселератора и фонда действует одна единственная валюта — это интерес. Вот если мне с тобой интересно, если внутри твоего бизнеса есть какой-то хак, который я еще не знал, и я готов в нем разобраться, я буду качать твой продукт. Если ты мне нравишься как фаундер и мне импонируешь, я буду с тобой работать. А если у тебя, ну, как бы просто много денег, или ты просто хочешь потыкать в меня палкой, это так не работает. Поэтому мы про экспертизу, про сообщество, про интерес и про постоянный бег вперед и про постоянное развитие и обучение. Хочется послушать, в общем-то, далее наших следующих спикеров и узнать, в общем-то, как мы видим лидеров будущего. Я приглашаю Сергея. Он представит нам нашего следующего гостя.
Лиза, благодарю. Спасибо. Да. Меня зовут Сергей Хуснединов. Я президент Дюковского клуба в России, выпускник Дюка и выпускник также еще акселерационной программы Free. Поэтому все, что Лиза говорила, прожил на себе. Действительно, это работает. Всем рекомендую проходить акселерационную программу. Многое из того, что Лиза уже говорила, будет такой проходить красной нитью в спиче Билла про lifelong learning, про networking, entrepreneurship, про технологии. Поэтому без промедления я представлю Билла. У нас будет проходить на английском языке, так что готовьте свои вопросы, будет динамичным. All right, now I switch to English, and it's my pleasure to introduce Bill Boulding, the Dean of the Fuqua and J.B. Fuqua Professor of Business Administration at the Fuqua School of Business, Duke University. He serves as the member of the World Economic Forum's Council on Values and chairs the board of Graduate Management Admission Council that administered GMAT. He is the chair of the board of directors of Duke Corporate Education and serves on Swarthmore's College Board of Managers. Dr. Bill Boulding joined recently New York Federal Reserve in examining the role business schools play in rebuilding trust in the financial sector. He is a recurring contributor to LinkedIn and Fortune on the topic of leadership. So please welcome Bill Boulding. Well, here's the mic for you.
Okay.
This is the mic for me. Is it working? No. All right. I'm reading my questions from the phone, so I'm not just playing during the interview.
He's playing video games.
So it's a digital world. So, Bill, a lot has happened in the world since your last visit to Moscow. It was a couple of years ago. And it's a challenging time for the world economy, trade wars, polarization of society, forecasted economic downturn. It's definitely a challenging time for business, entrepreneurs, and society at large. Some economists say that there is an inverse relation between business school applications or demand for the education, formal education in business and economy situation. So how do you account for that relation, and what do you teach applicants and candidates during that time?
Okay. So first of all, let me say it's such a privilege to be here tonight with all of you and to be in this facility, which has done incredible things in the startup space. So I'm very glad to be here. I also think that Sergey would like me to say something funny to get things started, but my worry is that to have something that would make you laugh, I would need a translator, and I should explain that, which is my father thought he was a very funny person, and he was British. And he would give talks around the world, and what he discovered was, as he gave talks in other countries that had to be translated, that his humor did not translate. And so he was giving a talk in Japan, and it was incredible because as he was giving this talk, every time he thought he said something funny, the audience laughed, and it was this amazing experience. So at the end of his talk, he went over to the translator and said, "You must be the world's best translator because every time I said something funny, you were able to change that into Japanese with all the nuance," and everyone laughed. And the translator said, "Oh no, it was much easier than that. I just told the audience every time he thinks he said something funny, please laugh." So then maybe you would laugh. But anyway, so you asked a very serious question, and so. The first part is, it is actually true that applications to graduate business education programs are counter-cyclical. So when the economy is robust, applications go down, and when you enter into a recession, applications go up. Why is that? Because I think you could tell stories that would account for either pattern. On the one hand, you would say, economy is good. If I pull out and educate myself and then do something else, I'm not going to have any problems finding some new line of work, launching some new startup because of the robust economy. The counter story would be, things aren't so good. I'm not progressing in my job. I'm not getting opportunities, promotions, salary increases, and so why not go back to school and upskill or reskill in some way so that I can make a transition. And it turns out it is the latter example that holds most of the time. We do see that applications go up when salaries go up, and so people see that there's more opportunity if you go to business school. But at the same time, the reason why applications go down generally when the economy is so strong is that one of the things that is most difficult for any company in a robust economy is holding on to and bringing in talent. And so what happens when an economy is going well is that people do get more salary increases, they do get faster promotions, and they are told, please don't leave, we'll hold on to you, we'll do everything we can to hold on to talent because talent is at such a premium and in such short supply. And so that is, I think, the typical response is that people say, well, I'll just keep working where I am instead of going back to business school. You know, what do we say? I say that a business education is relevant or should be relevant, depending on the nature of that education, both in good times and bad times. And that it would be equally important depending on your personal aspirations, rather than saying this is the right time or this is the wrong time.
So touching a little bit on the points, what do you teach candidates nowadays? Because we understand there is a formal academic education, business schools are more on the practical side. So you teach case studies, there is an internship.
Yeah, so there's something interesting about being in the business education space, and which is no one has to go to business school if they want to go into business. If you want to be a lawyer, you have to go to law school. If you want to be an engineer, you have to go to engineering school. If you want to be a doctor, you have to go to medical school, and so on and so forth. But if you want to go into business, anybody can do it. Have at it. And that is both challenging for business schools because you don't have any kind of required base that creates a foundation of interest in your programs, but it's also a blessing for business schools, which means that we have to be relevant. If we don't add value in what we do, we go out of business. And so this means that there's real pressure on business schools, unlike many parts of higher education where they can do whatever they've done for the last 100 years and people will still have to go and be a part of those programs. But in business, if you're irrelevant, then you will go out of business. And so what that means then, from my point of view, is there are multiple dimensions of relevance, and we have to pay attention to those multiple dimensions. You know, dimension one is, what are the kinds of capabilities and skills that are needed to be successful in the world of business today? What are the trends in terms of how business is changing? But the second dimension of relevance that I think is especially important in the world today is how will you create access to your programs? And so just as every other kind of business has been disrupted by digital transformations, so too has our education. And so you have to be very thoughtful about how do we remain relevant in terms of content and also be relevant in terms of the way we deliver that content. So in particular, I think that there are some very significant themes in terms of the relevant content. One is kind of the focus of this particular group here, which is the need for entrepreneurship. And from my point of view, when I think of entrepreneurship, I actually think of it more broadly than just the startup space. I think of entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurial action, which, yes, is relevant in the context of the startup space. But here's the thing. Startups can happen at any time in your life. And in fact, people have a mental model that startups are launched by people who are very young, But the reality is that startup could happen at any stage of your life. And the evidence is that the median age of a successful founder is 39 years old. So it's not a kid. It's people of all kinds. And I think the reason why it's 39 years old is it typically takes some experience to understand what the opportunities are, what's missing, what could be done in order to identify the possible new ventures. And so I think we need to prepare people for a lifetime of entrepreneurship rather than just saying, okay, here, be an entrepreneur, go launch your startup. Although there's some people who are ready for that message and ready to go through the intensive training for a startup right now. But I also think that entrepreneurship is more than just startups. It's an entrepreneurial mindset. It's something where every company in the world needs people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, because every company, I mean, some of the examples of working with these existing companies and figuring out how can they become more entrepreneurial, every company needs to innovate and drive innovation and remain relevant. And so every company is looking for people who they can hire and bring in to drive the ongoing innovation. And I think what companies want more than anything in this regard is a mindset of, I'm an owner, not a renter. I own the problems I face. I own the opportunities I face. I'm willing to take action on the basis of that ownership rather than believing I'm just temporarily in this space before I move on to the next thing. And I think companies really suffer from employees who are renters rather than owning their role within the organization. So I see kind of a rich space that suggests that entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindset is relevant in a variety of domains. Second thing that I think is just a hugely important trend is this trend towards transformation through technology. And right now, a lot of that transformation is because of digital technologies that are available to us. And I think from my experience, what's interesting here is that, say I go to Silicon Valley, and which is arguably one of the most innovative places in the world, especially in terms of the use of technology to drive disruption. I never hear from people in Silicon Valley that the limiting factor on their ability to innovate is the underlying technology. Never. What I hear consistently is the limiting factor on their ability to innovate is the human talent, the leadership capability to harness those technologies in a way that you can unlock the potential of those technologies. And so what that means is there's a very simple and clear message that comes out of that story, which is we need people who understand technology, who don't see machine learning and artificial intelligence and a world of big data and data science techniques as something that is completely mysterious and that they have no sense of what all of that means and how it can be used. You need people who have an understanding of what you can do with these technologies, but you also need people who have business domain knowledge. So the real shortage in this space are people who live at the interface between business strategy and technology. And that is kind of the big trend I see there. The last thing I mentioned, I promise I'll stop talking and let you ask another question. But the last area, which I think is a very big shift, is just how do you create common purpose? And so part of the leadership challenge is not just harnessing technology in terms of what can be done with the technology, but how do you harness people to make that technology come to life? And so there is this task of any organization of any size, which is how do you bring people together with common purpose to do something that's great? And this is a skill that is getting to be more valuable, but also more difficult to put into place because we live in a world where there's more fragmentation, more polarization, movement away from kind of globalization, movement to kind of different lines of conflicts depending on which team you're on and which part of the world and what your beliefs are. And so the reality is, from the business community point of view, again, tying back to this theme of entrepreneurship and innovation, what we know from the business world is that the lifeblood of innovation is bringing people together with different points of view, different experiences, different backgrounds, because then you can unlock more opportunity. You can see things. You can see things better. And so, in one of my interviews where I got to ask the questions with Tim Cook, he made the statement, which is, a great team will always beat a great individual. But what we need are people who can create great teams, and a great team is one where everyone has a shared identity and a shared sense of purpose around what can be done. It is so much harder to have that shared sense of purpose in a world where we're surrounded by this kind of fragmenting activity, this polarization, and therefore we need the talent that understands how to bring out the best in terms of human potential that surrounds you.
Thank you, Bill. You mentioned 3 points what you teach: leadership, entrepreneurship, and technology. And our topic today is how you teach entrepreneurs and innovate with that. So you said you're formulating or teaching entrepreneurial mindset. What's your approach to that?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that it's fair to say that in terms of entrepreneurial mindset, which again has this broad range of relevance, ranging from the way people typically think of this, which is you want to be a founder, you want to start up, you want to do something that's new, that's on your own. But what I just said isn't totally accurate in terms of you never do something on your own. Entrepreneurship is a team sport. That if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, it's going to really depend on your ability to create a great team and bring people together with different capabilities, with different skills and insights in order to get to the place where you can bring a product or a service to market. So the first thing is, don't think of this as it's an individual-based activity. I just need to fix myself and focus on myself, and everything else will fall into line. Then I'd say let's also be honest and recognize that not everybody wants to be a founder, because there's a certain degree of risk that goes along with being a founder. And there are differences in terms of risk tolerance across people. And so some people will just say, I have to feed my family, and if I move into the startup space, I'm putting that at risk, and so I'm not going to do it. Having said that, that doesn't mean they can't be entrepreneurial within the context of perhaps a safer, larger scale organization where job security isn't literally at risk every single day. And so there it has to do with this ownership mentality, which for me is the biggest distinguishing factor around someone who has entrepreneurial mindset. But it's the willingness to look at the landscape and understand how you can see patterns, see opportunities, and then take responsibility that once you've seen that, you have the responsibility to act on that in some way. And so much of what we're teaching people in that regard is, how do you scale, or you can create something brand new on your own? And I think that that's an incredibly important skill to have. But the fundamental thing is teaching people how to evaluate the environment that they're in, and helping to give them a little bit of ability not to guess the future, because that doesn't always end well. I mean, because our guesses are sometimes wrong, but at least sense the future and the ability to move in the direction of where there's going to be real business activity. But the ability to sense the future is highly dependent on your ability to read the signals in the environment and then your ability to act on those signals. And so much of that is actually traditional MBA skills in terms of the finance skills, the marketing skills, and so on, that will really help you move forward.
Thank you, Bill. One tricky question. So you mentioned Tim Cook, right? And you frequently talk with top CEOs, CEO of SAP, General Motors, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's. I don't even mention all the big banks. What do they tell you behind the scenes? What are the skills they're looking for in employees, in your MBA candidates?
So, first of all, I'll give you the answer not from my secret conversations, but the data from a wide variety of companies. The two most important things that companies are looking for in terms of skills, number one, the ability to work effectively with others. And so this is this notion of nothing in life will go as well on your own as it will go if you can bring out the best from people around you. The second most important thing is your ability to self-manage. And what that really means is it's back to this idea of an entrepreneurial mindset. You can be left alone and people can trust that you will do the things that need to be done, that you will own the opportunities and the problems and step up to those challenges. So those are, going away from, the specific conversations with those individuals. The conversations with those CEOs are largely about how life has changed from the point of view of what a CEO has to do. And here's where what's so interesting is that it used to be a CEO had a very clear sense of purpose, which is my job is to maximize shareholder value. That is the prime directive, and everything else has to follow from that. Well, it's not so simple anymore. So if you're Tim Cook, what are you going to say if there is legislation that is, from the point of view of the LGBTQ community, marginalizes that community? Will you stay silent because that has nothing to do with maximizing shareholder value? Or will you say something because you worry about different stakeholders that ultimately might influence shareholder value, such as your customers? Will they feel like you're ignoring, some of your customers, your employees? Will some of your employees be marginalized if you don't stand up to something that they feel is specifically discriminating against them? If you're Mary Barr at General Motors, right now there's an interesting challenge, which is, to what extent is every company responsible for their part in climate change? Now, that assumes you all believe that climate change is real. I think that the science is fairly convincing in this regard. And so most CEOs are taking responsibility, because the question is, if they don't take responsibility, who will? And so a very simple example of this would be, in the US right now, you have emission standards, where the manufacturers have to meet these standards, whether they're a US company or a company coming from another part of the world. There's also standards that are specific to California. California, in some ways, has kind of said, we don't like the direction of the country as a whole, so we're going to do our own thing. So we believe climate change is real, even if the US government has pulled out of the climate accords. And so we're going to set higher emission standards. So then General Motors has to make a decision. Do they follow the mandated standards for the country and follow the standards which their president is telling them, not the president of the company, but President Trump is telling them it's your responsibility to go to the lower standards, because if you do, your cars will cost less money and you can sell more cars, and the company can make more money. And so to what extent is it then the job of the CEO to maximize the amount of money they can make, or do they have to factor in what's going to happen in the future, what's our responsibility for the future? And so those are two examples of the kinds of things that are just profoundly different than they used to be in the world of a CEO, where the reality is that almost on a daily basis, a CEO is going to be asked whether or not they will take a stand on an issue which on the face of it has nothing to do with their core business. But if you peel it back, may have implications for their stakeholders, whether it's their employees, their customers, their suppliers, and so on and so forth. And so that is a kind of a level of decision-making where, quite honestly, business schools have not been preparing people. You know, that has not been in the set of courses. It's in our set of courses, I might mention, but it has not been in the traditional set of courses for business schools. And yet, when I have these conversations with CEOs, almost invariably the conversation steers to these very complicated decisions where they didn't learn how to do this in business school.
Yeah, thank you. I think you mentioned a very good example of cultural differences and sort of new challenges CEOs face. And I think it's very relevant for those of you who choose a Go Global program at Free, because when you sell to US, you need to understand how they think, what their set of values, and how to offer your product to that market. And Bill, you run business school as a corporation. It is a corporation, right? Profit and loss statement, revenue, a customer base. And you said there is a huge competition among US business schools with Asian business schools, European business schools. How do you innovate to stay relevant? What's your vision? What's your process? How you test it? What's your hypothesis?
Yeah. So there's no question. I mean, coming back to my earlier comment that unless we are relevant, we will go out of business. No one will have to go to business school. And so it's a requirement of our business to constantly sense the market and then respond in ways that hopefully matches those market needs. The way that we do that is, in some ways, we have an advantage relative to other kinds of educational institutions where there's less clarity around what will happen to the graduates of that program. We know that our graduates are going to go into running some kind of organization. And therefore, we know who we need to talk to in order to identify the challenges that those organizations are having in terms of the talent shortfalls they have, the issues that they're grappling with where they really could use help in terms of developing deeper insight. And so I view it to be my job to be totally immersed in the global business community. And part of the reason why I talk to these CEOs is, hopefully I can do it in front of our students and they can benefit. But even if it's a private conversation, ultimately they benefit because I learn, what are these pressing challenges, what can be done. There's also, that's why I'm involved with the New York Federal Reserve Bank, and it's kind of an effort which is working with the banks that are regulated by the New York Fed, which is all of Wall Street. And so I just feel it's profoundly important to constantly listen to what's happening in the business world in a way that informs what it is that we could do. I've also benefited from my role as chair of the board of GMAC, and for those of you who've taken the GMAT, I apologize. It is true that we run the GMAT, but there I get a lot of data, and so they collect systematic data from companies. They collect data from prospective students around data from a wide variety of interactions around the world in many different settings, along with more concrete quantitative data that gets collected from different stakeholders. And at the same, by the same token, we collect quantitative data from companies to help us figure out what we need to do. From there, then you have to translate the information that's coming in, just like any entrepreneur. You have to go from the market sensing to what does that mean in terms of what you're going to put in place. And in a university setting, that's a little more complicated because you have to get your faculty to agree that this is what they will do. And it's not, they don't necessarily view it as their job to be out involved in this market sensing activity, but it's their job to ultimately deliver these programs. And so you have to be able to see where things are going. You have to be able to hear from people, and then you have to be able to tell a story. Any successful entrepreneurial activity, a critical element is the ability to tell a story, whether it's telling a story that will convince investors or telling a story that will convince your first customers to sign on. If you can't tell that story in a compelling way, then good luck. And I don't think anyone wants to rely simply on luck.
All right. So I have one more question before I open the floor to your questions. And this is sort of short one. Short answer, but long question.
Yes.
All right.
No.
Yeah. Almost. When you first started as a dean, you were trying to do much, and you mentioned in your interview a conversation with Tim Cook again, because you are his favorite professor of marketing. Thanks to you, we have all this amazing iPhone 11. So, and he gave you an advice. Try to pick 3 or 4 focuses and stick to them. So my question would be, what's your advice to this group, to the broader audience, for the 3 to 4 focus area, where to focus their development?
So it is true that Tim Cook was a student of mine. As Sergey said, I taught him marketing, and you'll notice that there has never been a moment in his career that anyone has said, Tim Cook is a marketing genius. They've always said he's an operations genius. So really, we should have the person who taught him operations sitting up here. So there's a tendency for all of us, especially as life gets more complicated and we have more pressures, more demands on our time, to try to do everything. And it's a noble intention to try to respond to everything that's thrown your way, but ultimately it becomes very distracting in terms of your ability to master anything, to do something really well. And so the first thing I'd say is that no matter how chaotic your life is, that you need to spend a little bit of time asking yourself, what is the real opportunity? What is what is the prize that's out there? If you could only do these 1,000 things, what's the prize you're after? Because once you've started from, this is my ambition. This is why I'm working so hard. This is why I don't sleep, I don't eat, I just work so incredibly hard. But you have to know what that is. And kind of related to that is self-awareness around if that ambition doesn't actually personally connect to you, that's going to be trouble. So like if you think you're doing this because other people care about this a lot, but you don't, you need to figure out something else. Because unless you are personally passionate, unless you have the self-awareness to understand what you care about, you'll have a very difficult time going through the steps of figuring out what is most important and therefore what you need to do. Now, in terms of what are the 3 or 4 things that everyone should be doing, I don't think that's the right answer. I mean, I think that each person has to figure out what are the 3 or 4 things that they need to be doing that will allow them to unlock their ability to have success in what they do. But broadly speaking, there's some kind of guidelines that I would offer without giving you specifics. And so one thing is, don't get so far ahead of yourself that you lose the foundation that allows you to achieve success. So in other words, don't be so wild and crazy that you don't have the resource base to accomplish the things that you really care about. And there's some things that are not so exciting, not so glamorous, but are simply requirements of any successful business activity that you are running something that is running in a way that you have a foundation that you can build from. And so kind of point number 1 is make sure you build a foundation beneath whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. But the second thing is, don't be afraid to kind of leave the security of that foundation and make sure that you have some kind of vision that says, we're going to do something new. We will go into new territory. And I think, this is very general advice, but if you just try to do the same things in the world we live in, you could do that for a short period of time. And you might be able to do it better than someone else who's doing the same thing. You could be more efficient, lower costs, and so on. But ultimately, if you don't have ideas, if you don't have a vision of something that is new that you can move to, I think it's going to be very challenging to sustain success over time. And so, once again, there has to be this excitement that you have when you say, if we could do this new thing, then that would be amazing. And I'm going to work incredibly hard in order to get to that target destination. And so it's a funny combination, but it's in some sense, there's an English word, oxymoron, which is 2 words that contradict each other, which is you need stability and excitement in combination. And people who tip too far in one direction aren't going to get the right balance that allows them to do the really exciting things. And so I just think that keeping that in balance is enormously important.
Thank you very much, Bill. All right, now we have questions.
Thank you. Works. Thank you very much for very interesting speech. And my question is related more to the technologies. So if you could please comment on what you see as the major technologies in the next 3-5 years in education and what's application there could be? Will robots or artificial intelligence take over finally? And perhaps specifically in artificial intelligence, in application to the education, what do you see the major applications in the next 3-5 years? Thank you.
So I'd say that there are two ways that technologies are really changing business schools. You know, the first thing is that it's creating opportunities to do things in new and different ways. As an example of that, I think many business schools, including Duke, have moved into the space of being able to deliver digital content. And so to move away from the model of everything has to be face-to-face to having pure online degrees or other activity that is purely online. At the same time, I think it's dramatically affecting business schools, or should, I say, dramatically affect business schools in terms of the content that they teach. And I'm going to come back to something I said before, which is there's been enormous attention that's being given in the STEM space, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And you would think that the world is going to be run by computer scientists and engineers. But if you ask the question, where is the talent needed? That talent is needed, but that talent needs to be conversant with the problems that business can solve. And so we need people who are bringing that kind of technology content into the domain of business schools, or you could bring the business school content into the domain of computer science and engineering programs, because you need to have the capability of being seeing both sides. And that is the single biggest shortage of talent around the world, is the ability to be at that interface between business and technology. Now, will AI further disrupt education, where AI can replace professors, and so you'll essentially have a bot that conducts class, and the people who are really passionate about AI say anything that's repeatable can be replaced. Any human activity that's repeatable can be replaced by some artificial intelligence or machine learning capability. There, I am less convinced that that's true. And I think that one of the things that we're discovering as people are pushing new ideas and applications using artificial intelligence and machine learning is two things to be concerned about. One is, are these technologies simply going to be seen as replacements for humans? So in other words, are we going to eliminate all jobs? And this is the Elon Musk view of the world, by the way, that eventually the only employer will be the government, because every other job will have been eliminated by artificial intelligence and machine learning. I see that as a very dangerous world, and not a world that I would be very excited about. And so that's one thing to be concerned about. The second thing is, are we going to outsource human judgment? And what is the role of humanity? What is the human difference as we think about technology? And what I would say is that the real opportunities are combining the human difference with these technologies that eliminate the need for human talent to be spent on routine tasks, and allows human beings to move to higher order reasoning and functions. There has to be new job creation that goes with that. Because guess what? If technology is seen as a way simply to eliminate jobs, there's going to be a backlash against technology that will make the backlash against globalism seem like a small little rainstorm compared to a hurricane of anger if technology is viewed as a job killer. So, you know, I really believe there's incredible opportunity, but I also think that one of the things that we need to have people thinking about is constantly is don't just think about the technology, think about the humanity and the intersection of technology and humanity.
Thank you. Next question.
How does your business school sense results of its education?
So we have market measures, certainly that again set us apart because it's very clear what we need to accomplish, and so those measures range from, because we do have some students who come in with a startup idea and they want to launch a startup. We have students who come in, and I don't mean to be critical here, but they may not, I mentioned that the median age of a founder is 39 because it typically takes some experience. And so coming out of a business school, you may not have the experience to have the brilliant idea that you can commercialize, but you do have some skills that are incredibly valuable to people who do have those ideas, who have no clue about market commercialization. And so there we want to engage in matchmaking between people who have the intellectual property and the people who have the business skills to commercialize in a successful way. So we pay attention to how we're doing in the startup space. For the majority of students in business schools, they still are interested in initially starting with a pre-existing company, whether it's a small-scale startup that someone else has launched or a large-scale company. And there, we solicit feedback from the employer community around what is the performance of our graduates. And we solicit that feedback both in terms of the quantitative feedback, how are they performing relative to others, as well as qualitative feedback. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by qualitative feedback. So our graduates, I believe, are particularly capable of this very valuable skill of working with people who are different from them, bringing out their best, getting people to work with common purpose and accomplish something great. And that's what sets apart our graduates. It would be nice if I had evidence that other people saw that as well. So there's a company which I don't even know, I don't know the name of the company because we collect data confidentially so that people will feel free to give us their honest answers. And so the story I'm about to tell you, I don't know who it is, but it's a company that recruits a lot of people out of business school. And when they're in this recruiting process, they bring them all together from a variety of schools. And then they go through a process kind of after having interviewed on our campus, they have these on-site interviews, which are a mix of individual-based interviews and team-based interviews. And the feedback we got was that the employer can always tell when it's one of our students when they move to the team-based interviews, because the team-based interviews are essentially, we're going to give you a challenge, we're going to give you a task that you have to do together. And think about this setting. You are all competing with each other for a job. And so what is the human instinct in that setting? If you're all competing with one another, what you want to do is like push Sergey into the background so that you can shine. And the feedback that we got from this employer is the way we can always identify it's a Duke student is instead of pushing people aside, the Duke student is going up to everybody on their team and saying, what can you do? What are your capabilities that are going to allow us to win as a team against all these other teams? And so the ironic thing about this is the people who really stand out are not the ones who are elbowing everyone else to get in the spotlight. It's the people who are deferring and allowing other people to stand into the spotlight. And so we have a saying, which is your success is my success. If we can make people around us successful, we're going to be very successful. So we have lots of metrics that, as I say, range from quantitative to qualitative to see, are we actually delivering the talent that is needed? Another metric is a market metric is, do people want to go to our programs? And so we launched a new degree program, which is in exactly the space that I keep talking about, the interface of business domain knowledge and technology capability. It's called the Master of Quantitative Management. It's a business analytics degree. And we launched that. And so from the employer point of view, we're tracking how are our graduates doing, the same way we do with our other programs, and they're doing phenomenally well. They're very much in demand. But we're also looking at, does the market, in the sense of a prospective student, value this program? And there we went from 0 to 2,000 applications within a year, because this was something that was so clearly needed in the marketplace, so clearly relevant. And so for better or worse, we are very much subject to market forces. You know, as Sergey said, we're running a business too, and therefore we have to have our key performance metrics that tell us whether or not we're on track.
Thank you. Next question.
Good evening. My name is Anton. Thank you for your comprehensive answers. And my question is following. Do you believe that product management has future as a separate career direction in business? And if you do, why there is still no master's program in product management at Duke, as for example at Carnegie Mellon? Thanks.
Very specific question.
Yeah, that is very specific. So I think that that first of all, that product management jobs will continue to be important. I think that they are, they are the current preferred model, especially in technology companies, to have the product management function. Although, ultimately, you had that same model, brand management, in consumer packaged goods companies, as well as industrial firms. And so it's not actually that big of a departure in terms of the functionality. The departure is, and the reason why this is the preferred model in the technology space, is the ability to have insight into the underlying technology as well as insight into the business functions. And so, so Carnegie has developed a specific program. At the same time, our business analytics program is very much in the same space, but we're not going to limit the upside of our graduates by saying, you're going into product management and that's it. I mean, this is a very important point, which is, as you educate people, and I've kind of said this before, there's a very specific thing where people are hoping for a transformation that gives them new opportunity that they would not have had if they hadn't gone to business school. But we also have a deeper responsibility beyond that initial job, which is to prepare you for a lifetime. And in our view, and one of the things that sets apart all of our kind of technology-based quantitative management, data analytics programs, is that we view that this is the new track, potentially, to becoming a CEO. And so we want to give you the leadership upside to go beyond a product management role into broader functions where you have the ability to have influence and lead a significant organization. And so it's just a difference in philosophy and maybe a bit of a trade-off between the present and the future. And we believe that we need to have some kind of balance, that so much of life is getting the balance right, getting the trade-offs right between what's needed right now and what's the investment in the long term. Now, the other thing that we've done is I heard the lifelong learning in the talk earlier, is that we think that this has to change in terms of the responsibility of the university, where kind of what I've been saying is people have been talking about lifelong learning for what feels like a lifetime, and yet they haven't done very much. And so one of the things that we've done is say, back to this theme of there are things you need right now to get you where you want to go, but that's not it in terms of the transitions you will make over the course of your lifetime. And shouldn't you be able to engage repeatedly with a learning institution in order to help you with those transitions as you go through your professional life? And so we've done this in very tangible ways, such as all of our alumni have lifelong access to free, tuition-free executive education programs, whether that's online, which may be easier for someone in Russia than face-to-face, but online and face-to-face. We have offered accelerated programs to take advantage of people who've done one thing. For example, we announced this week that we're launching an accelerated business analytics program to say there are a lot of people out there who have a master in management or an MBA, but now they're trying to navigate this world of technology transformation, and they're not really capable at this point. They need to reskill in that domain. And so we're going to give people credit for what they've done in that space and then allow them to accelerate that transition to bring on those new capabilities. So I think it's, there are trade-offs about what's needed now, what's needed in the future, but I think there's also something that everyone should be looking at, which is, to what extent will that institution be involved with me over the course of my lifetime? Will they help me with the challenges that I'll face, which will be different 10 years from now than what they are today?
How are we doing on time? Do we have still time for more questions? Okay.
Hi, my name is Matteo. My question is on marketing. Which company do you believe does a marketing that you like, and why?
Apart from Apple.
No, you can't say that, because Tim Cook is a marketing genius. There are a number of companies which have built up a reputation over time as what I'll call marketing companies. As you think about what it is, it's at the core of how the company makes money. Sometimes marketing becomes a more prominent function than other times. So let me give you a concrete example, which is Nike. So Nike is not in the manufacturing business. They're in the design business, which is a marketing function, so product design. And then they're in the business of selling those designs. And so pretty much the entire company is a marketing company. And they've been very, very successful in that regard. They've created a brand identity, which is very powerful. They kind of created a company around the following 3 words: authentic athletic performance. And they've been able to build a company around that for many, many decades. Now, I don't know if any of you, having said that, have any of you followed the current scandal with Nike? Okay, well then this is less relevant. But so what?
They have the collaboration with Amazon, so it's
No, the scandal is, and this is
Copernic?
no, not I guess they have a variety of things that are going on. But the thing that just came out a couple days ago is that a very prominent coach was allegedly involved in pushing the envelope around using banned substances and identifying what is the point where the use of that substance transitions from undetectable to detectable. So how far can you push the use of these illegal substances and get away with it? So there's something that I do not agree with, which is people who believe it's not the crime, it's if you get caught. I think that's a horrible idea. But apparently this person allegedly was engaged in this behavior, and allegedly it was happening with Nike in their labs. I only tell this story because if you're a marketing company and you've based yourself around a concept and you undermine that concept with your actions, you're in big trouble. So my 3 words of authentic athletic performance: if Nike becomes known for doing things which allow for inauthentic athletic performance or enhanced athletic performance using illegal substances, then that's going to be a really big blow to their brand. So what I would say is, if you're going to be a marketing company, the thing that people oftentimes miss is they think it's just about the ability to have kind of interesting ads and reach people in new and interesting ways. But for me, it's really the substance of what is the promise of the product and service. Is that delivered in an authentic way? Because if you can do that, then you will be a successful company for many years.
Thank you so much for your speech, and I have also the question regarding the branding. You mentioned about Nike, and we have the examples, in the marketing world, because the brand's becoming, the very evident and visible in the Instagram world. And for example, this Victoria's Secret damage of the brand, and it is fully, can be the vanish of the brand from the market. So it depends on the brand reputation. So, and we have not mentioned, and I think that is not a key issue in Russia, but actually in the world, the cultural diversity and environmental sustainability, which you mentioned as well. So the key trends on the business issue, and it can be also the cause of collapsing the reputation of the companies. So can you comment on this? What threats you can see in this? Because in Russia, many business, they don't believe in this. It is like a serious threat and problem. So what is the world opinion from the US and probably world thematic? What do you think about? Thank you.
Yeah. So there's no question in my mind that as I travel around the world, there is a very significant threat to business activity everywhere I go. And that threat is not that complicated. It is business leaders who are engaging in behavior that ranges from immoral and unethical to actually illegal behavior. And that's happening everywhere in the world. I mean, it happens in the US, it happens everywhere. And when it happens, people are only too happy to report on that. And that's why I think that this is a significant threat to business, which is if we allow that story to perpetuate, that ultimately business is only about making money, and therefore anything goes as long as I can make more money, then what will happen is what you're seeing now in the world, which is a loss of faith, a loss of trust in business activity. You will see less interest in terms of kind of the younger generation coming into the world of business, because people generally would prefer to do something that gives them a sense of purpose and meaning, and that they view that they're contributing to society. And so I think that this is very much a threat to the world of business. And for those of you who saw the letter that came out about a month ago from Jamie Dimon, which says the purpose of and all the CEOs that are part of the Business Roundtable, the purpose of the firm is no longer to maximize shareholder value, which is the fundamental principle that's been taught in business schools for decades. Instead, it is this more complicated thing about we have to maximize stakeholder value. Ask yourself, why did that letter come out? Why did these very prominent CEOs say it's not just about making money? And I think the answer is very simple. They realize if they don't send a message that business is more than just the amount of money you can make, that will threaten the ability of business in the future, because people will say, no, that's an activity where you don't care about sustainability. You don't care about the future of the world. You don't care about anything other than getting rich. And so I think that letter was very strategic to send a message that says business can be and should be, in my opinion, and this is what we stand for as a brand, is that business should be a force for good. Business should give you the platform for driving change, for innovating, for being an entrepreneur, for creating value that improves lives, that makes society better. And, but right now, the story is being written that that's not what business is about. And I think it's very important that we continue to produce the kinds of leaders who understand their responsibility to society.
Thank you. Katya?
Yes. Good evening, colleagues. I think you're becoming our favorite professor, Bill, right? So Katya Smirnova, I'm actually a curious HR person, to be honest, and thanks, Sergey, for the invitation. So my question is around, there is an opinion that we are moving into the networked organization, which means that we need to unlearn hierarchy. So my question is, what we are supposed to teach our leaders, our managers? Thank you.
So this is something that, again, is a global phenomenon, which is we are moving away from a hierarchical structure, and we're moving to more of a network structure where people have the ability to create teams, free-floating teams that move from one team to another as necessary to get something done. And this has very direct, important implications in terms of the ability of a leader to function in that kind of environment. And specifically, in a hierarchical structure, what you want is you want the very smartest person to be at the top, because then that person will tell everyone else what to do, and you'll go from there. But if you believe what Tim Cook believes and what I believe, which is a great team will always beat a great individual, then that hierarchical model is completely insufficient to successfully compete in the world today. So instead, you need people who have the leadership capability to function effectively with others, with people who kind of move in and out, have different backgrounds, experiences, and to get them to coalesce around this kind of common purpose to get things done. I think that there are three specific things that a leader needs in the world today if you are going to make that transition from this hierarchical structure to this more network-based structure. Number one, you still have to be smart. I'm sorry, but you still, the world of business is not getting any easier, so IQ is very important. You have to be able to make sense of this very complicated world we live in. However, if you believe that a great team will beat a great individual, then you need to have the skills that will allow you to build a great team. And it's very hard to build a great team if you don't have the emotional intelligence to understand how other people are feeling, to motivate them, to kind of regulate your own emotions so that you connect effectively with others and you get people pulling together to accomplish this, this common purpose. And so emotional intelligence is a requirement, or EQ, as emotional intelligence is known. Having said that, I don't think, and I'll just make a comment about the world of business schools, which is I think that they've been tipped very heavily just on IQ, because things take a long time to go away, and the smartest person in the room model has persisted over a long time. And so people have emphasized the importance of IQ above everything else. But I think EQ is equally important. But IQ and EQ are not enough, because I'm willing to bet that all of you can think of individuals that you have encountered in your lives who are very smart and can get you to do pretty much anything because they are so manipulative. They understand how to connect with you, and what they're doing, though, is getting you to do something that is very selfish. They're not interested in what makes the team the best. They're interested in how can they get what's best. And so these are people that once you've identified them, you don't typically like to continue working with them. They cannot build a sustainably great team if they are manipulative, because people will find out. And so the third thing that you need is DQ. And DQ is probably the least well-known of these three Qs. And for people who've spent any time in the US, it does not stand for Dairy Queen. But DQ is a decency quotient. If you really want to succeed in a networked environment, if you want to be able to bring people together and get them to work with common purpose, you're going to have to actually care about the people you work with. You're going to have to understand that leadership is not about being selfish. It's about being selfless and serving others. You're going to have to understand that even though you're pretty darn smart, there are other people who know things that you don't know. And so that you have the humility to recognize that other people have things to contribute. And you have to be someone who understands that if you begin to marginalize people, if you begin to make it felt like only some people are on your team, then you will lose that team identity and the ability to accomplish great things. So from our point of view, bringing together IQ, EQ, and DQ is extremely rare, but exceptionally valuable in order to make a difference in the kind of world that we live in today.
Thank you. So don't be selfish. Ask questions that bother you with the broad audience.
Hello. Again, thank you for your presentation. My name is Anna, and I'm a person who is responsible for development of innovation in a big corporation. That's why, coming back to capability, I want to ask you, what do you think about exponential thinking? Is it possible to develop leaders or to change their mindset to grow business in 10 times? And if possible, then how? Thank you.
So I do think that there are a couple of key elements that I've touched on. One is obviously using technology to kind of unlock human potential and to allow people to accomplish more than they could accomplish with the human effort. But then the other dimension that I've mentioned is the ability to unlock the potential from others, which is if we live in a world where I'm going to tell everyone what to do, then I'm going to hand Sergey a list of instructions, and I'll wait for him to fulfill those instructions. He'll give his answers back to me, and then I'll give him the next list of things to do. And that is incredibly inefficient and ineffective. And so if we really want to move into a world of exponential thinking, we have to be able to, coming back to a comment I made, we have to allow people to self-manage. We have to trust them to self-manage, but let's not just trust, let's verify that people have the ability to self-manage. In other words, that they have the skills to take advantage of the opportunities that they have. And I'll give you a simple example of this, where there are economists who are kind of puzzled over why is it that with the advent of these new technologies, these new digital capabilities, that we have not seen an increase in productivity. So why is that? So I'll give you an example that led to, this is kind of back to the question of how do we innovate. There are a lot of programs out in the world right now that are producing data scientists. In this world of big data, everyone recognizes we got big data, so we need some data scientists. And what we discovered in talking to companies was that these data scientists, and I'm going to say something that sounds mean, I don't mean to be mean, but the language they used was, these people can't get out of the basement. And they didn't mean that they were kind of scary people and you didn't want to interact with them. What they meant was they didn't have the ability to communicate effectively with others. They didn't have the ability to collaborate effectively with others. And as a result, the comment, can't get out of the basement, was these people do not have the upside potential to move up in terms of leadership levels within the organization. And the limiting factor was this very idea of, I'm going to take someone who is incredibly smart. I mean, you got some brilliant data scientists out there, brilliant computer scientists out there who can code amazing things, but if they don't understand the business problems, the business challenges, and they don't understand business strategy, then how can you take full advantage of those skills? Because you're back to a world of, Sergey, you're a brilliant data scientist, so I know you can do these 10 things.
I actually am.
And yes, I knew that. So, so do these 10 things and then show me the answers and then I'll give you the next list. You need someone where you can say, Sergey, figure this out, own it, and unlock your potential. But this is what I mean about, in order to really own it and unlock the potential, you have to have the underlying capabilities. And we're living in a world right now where we're not unlocking the productivity from technology because we're not harnessing technology to the business problems as effectively as we should be, because I would argue we've tipped too far in one direction without understanding the world of business and how technology can be useful.
So that creates a lot of potential for startups for disruption. Since the old technology didn't work, here's your space to innovate. We probably have time for one more very smart question from the audience.
They know that if they ask a smart question, they're going to get a stupid answer. So.
It's not a smart question, but talking about new innovations, how do you convince the people around you to abandon yesterday if yesterday worked very well?
Yeah, that's a very meaningful question, and it's a very challenging thing to do. I'll give you a very real example from my world and innovation that we chose to do, which is one of our programs is a weekend MBA program, and a weekend MBA is a program where, shockingly, you come onto campus on weekends. And so it's kind of very intuitive, but the program typically is you come physically to a campus location every other weekend, and then empirically, what you could see is that there are a large number of these weekend MBA programs, and they all seem to be regional. They serve a local area or a reasonably big region that's easily accessed on an every other weekend basis. And on that basis, you've even seen some really excellent schools like the Wharton School say, if we're going to have a weekend MBA that's more than regional to the Northeast, we need to have a second campus that's on the West Coast. So Wharton has an East campus and a West campus. We collected data from students and prospective students that said, that challenged the idea that these were regional programs. I mean, we think that Duke is a global brand. I mean, Wharton is a global brand too. And that we should be able to attract people. If we run a program, we can make it accessible. We shouldn't be limited to the local area. And so we proposed the following change, which is, let's take a program that used to require face-to-face engagement for all of the classwork and make it more accessible by saying once a month, come to campus, and then every other weekend, you can participate virtually. And our faculty did not want to do this. Why not? Because we had record numbers of students in our weekend MBA program as it was. And so there's this saying, which is one of the most dangerous sayings in the world, which is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And my view is, that is incredibly dangerous, because if you're going to wait for something to break before you fix it, someone else will probably have fixed it before you did. And so, so here's where one of the challenges with moving from something that works really well to something that is an unknown is you can't tell people with certainty that it's going to work, right? You can't say, I guarantee this is going to be better. You can make your case, you can argue the logic for why it will work, but at the end of the day, there's going to have to be a leap of faith that people will say, okay, we'll let you try it and see how the market responds. But I remember this process very distinctly, because at the end of the day, our faculty did not want to make this change, and I asked them to kind of make this leap of faith. And they did, and the result was that it dramatically created a bigger upside for us, dramatically. And so there's been enormous growth in this space, because now it's not a regional program. We have people who are coming from all over, because pretty much anybody can get a place once a month from anywhere in the world. And so when I meet with the students who are in the program now, they invariably will come up to me and say, thank you for making these changes. I never could have been a part of this program if you had not changed the way you deliver, the way you've made it accessible. And I'll ask them, well, where are you from? And they'll tell me someplace far, far away from Durham, North Carolina. And then I had a student who, again, was thanking me and saying, I never could have been a part of this program if you hadn't made this change. I said, where are you from? And they said, Durham, North Carolina, which is where we are. And I go, what? You can't make it to campus from your home in Durham? He said, well, I have 5 children. And no, I can't make it to campus. My family would not let me. And so this is an example of innovation that is not just about relevance, but innovation is about creating access. And sometimes the access is surprising, where we knew that this program would be more family friendly, but we didn't put it together that we would actually be able to have more local people because it was family friendly, in addition to allowing us to have a much bigger geographic footprint. So this is where I come back to what I said before, which is you have to be able to tell a story. And if you can't tell a compelling story, and I will add to that, it helps if you have a track record of innovation where the stories you've told in the past have come true. That dramatically increases your chances of getting people to go along. If you're coming right out of the box with this is the first time you have asked people to trust you, you have no track record, that's going to be a big challenge unless you can tell an incredibly compelling story.
Thank you. Now we have a small tradition of having a picture with a flag at the end of each event. So let's follow this tradition, not to break it. So I'll bring the flag, and Michael will take a picture of all of us here. Yeah.
Thank you all so much.